Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com. Today I want to talk about what if you do not feel like working. I get this from people sometimes because I talk about work and the ennobling power of work, how useful it is, how it's a good thing. It's not a curse. It's not a part of the curse or anything like that. The original creation, Adam was put in the garden to till it, to keep it, to maintain it. So work was never a bad thing. The work now that some people do might be, but it's not because work in and of itself is a negative thing, is something destructive, is something harmful, or anything like that. It is good, it is godly, it is something that a person of character should be doing. There's no ennobling power from sitting around, laying around, being lazy, being indolent. But sometimes people do feel like not working. Now, if you're a high performer, this may not be a sign of burnout like people who don't perform very high talk about. They love talking about burnout because they're so far away from burnout that they like to make everything that anything is even remotely close to excelling above what they're doing as it, well, you know, you don't want to burn out, as a cover for their own laziness. But what if you are a high performing person? You just wake up and I'm not talking about physically, you just don't, mentally you're not there, you don't feel like doing work. This is not always a bad thing. Sometimes this is just a light indication from the Lord that you need to pull back a little bit, relax, meditate on the things of God, focus on the goodness of God, and let Him refresh you. Let Him bring that refreshing to your soul. Now, this does not mean spending days and weeks on end not working. Of course not. Matter of fact, sometimes it'll just be 30 minutes in the morning and it will refresh you enough to you'll have a great productive day. I know in exercising, many people have experienced this and can relate to this, where sometimes you go to the gym or you go to work out and you don't feel like it. That day you really just don't feel like doing it. But you do it and you have one of your best workouts ever. This is often the case in business where you may not feel like doing it. But take that temporary time to focus on the Lord and the goodness of. Now, you should always be doing this anyway, but this is a special above and beyond to refresh your soul, to get yourself back aligned with God, understanding the mission you have in life, and then proceeding full force ahead. Always going forward, never back. This is not an invitation to lay around, to get lazy, to do just the bare minimum to get by. This is not about that at all. This is not about somebody who's always making excuses for why they don't want to work. Listen, recognize if you're in a job or you have a business that's making you miserable, you need to make a change. Because all the refreshing in the world is good, but you're still going back to that thing that is making you miserable in the first place. So you're in an endless cycle there until you get out of being in that environment that is causing you the misery. Now, one thing is to notice that maybe your attitude is wrong, but it could be that the job itself, the business itself, is not good for you. It's not a good match. Okay. What can you do then? Where can you move to? What position can you move to? What business could you start? What can you do to make that different? If you just keep going through with that same misery each and every day, nothing's going to change. Matter of fact, it'll probably get worse. You have to stand up, be a man, be a woman, and do the thing you need to do to make changes in your life so you can get a different result. You can't just keep going through the same motions and wonder why the results aren't changing. You know, life is too short. It's like a blade of grass springing up. It is so short, so short-lived. You don't want to waste it doing things that make you miserable, doing things that aren't the best fit for you. That is not a way to live your life. Now, none of this is to say that you shouldn't be productive, that you shouldn't be doing the most, that you shouldn't be out working anyone else in your field. You absolutely should be. Make sure that it's properly aligned for you. Make sure that's really something that you want to do. You know, when you're doing something that you hate, something that makes you miserable, it's going to be very hard to feel like working. But you also have to understand that your work is not a 24/7 endless entertainment loop. It's not pure joy all times. Sometimes people are expecting, well, work doesn't make me feel overjoyed each and every second of the day, so it must make me miserable. No, that's not right. Sometimes your ideas could be wrong. You could have a focus and expecting something from work that isn't inherent in the work. That doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong. If your expectations are wrong, that can lead to misery. It doesn't need to exist. And all that misery is self-caused anyway, because you choose. Each day you go into that job, each day you're miserable from your coworkers or the work itself or whatever it may be. You're choosing that. You may say, well, but if I don't go there, I'll have no money. Or if I don't go there, I'll have no job and I won't be able to work again. My friend, I'm guaranteeing you there's some way you could go work somewhere else. If you're a high-performing person, now, if you're not a high-performing person, if you're just kind of mediocre and wallowing around with everybody else, just doing just enough to get by, you might have a serious problem because you might not be able to go work somewhere else because who's going to want to hire that? They already got a bunch of mediocre people. They already got a bunch of average. Unless you're bringing something to the table, so to speak, you're bringing that productivity, that good attitude, that high vibrational state that makes an employer want to hire you, you might have a harder time. But then the thing to do is change that. Change your attitude, change your heart about work. Realize it's ennobling, realize it's a good thing given by God. And that while you might not like where you're working right now, that's a blessing of the Lord. When you start approaching it that way, your attitude will improve. Your productivity will improve. And you know what? You might find that job that made you so miserable actually doesn't make you miserable at all. It was all your attitude. You were self-defeated before you even got to work because you were dreading the day. You were dreading that person you're going to have to talk to. You were dreading doing this, dreading doing that. You got yourself worked up, set up for defeat, believing and receiving the defeat that you already prophesied before you ever got to work. And people do this every day speaking defeat, thinking defeat, believing for defeat. And then they go to work and experience it and wonder why. So change your heart about it. Realize that work is a good thing. Yes, you might need a reprieve, a brief period of time where you're taking a little break. This could be a matter of 30 minutes to an hour, just extra time meditating and focusing on the things of God. But one of the easiest things you can do is make sure your heart starts every morning planning for the best, believing for the best, knowing that according to your faith be it unto you, knowing that from your heart flow the issues of life. And if the issues of life that you're experiencing are not good, make sure your heart's right. Make sure your heart is expecting the best. Make sure your heart is believing the best. Those coworkers or customers that you have to deal with that you don't like, that you believe are a problem for you, that are causing you stress and discord, why don't you believe for the best for them? Why don't you believe loving, pure, kind thoughts about them? Expect the best from them. Start to have those issues of life that are flowing from your heart be things that you actually want. You can keep talking about what was, keep talking about the things that happened, the negative event over here, negative event over there, that did happen, and then the negative event you think might happen, the person might be negative. Well, you know they were in the past, and keep speaking and believing for that negativity, or you can believe for the best. So my friend, if you're not feeling like working today, you're not feeling like putting in the extra effort, make sure you're doing the thing you should be doing, make sure your attitude's right, and listen, if you're just a high-performing person, you need a very short period of break, then have that. Grant yourself that. Be merciful to yourself. And then go push forward ahead, being the most productive person you can possibly be. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.